Hello, I'm Mark Pugach, and you're listening to Highbury and Heels.
Hello and welcome to Highbury and Heels, where I'm joined by our soccer diva, Sophie. Happy New Year, girlfriend.
Happy New Year to you too, mate. How's it going? Do you have a good one?
I did. I had a really good one. I usually go to Leeds, but this year my brother came down and it was quiet but really good. We laughed a lot because I'm really close with my family, and we just sat and chatted, and he told me what he's been up to. I told him what I've been up to. I also went to my best mate's Christmas family do, and their family is as loud as mine, and that was fantastic. But it was, yeah, I know. It was just crazy. I just sat there laughing my ass off. It was brilliant. What about yourself? What did you get up to over the holiday period?
You know, Christmas was lovely. I played golf twice,
Nice.
which was really sweet. And living in Southern California, that's always a bonus with the weather and stuff like that. And really just took the time to chill out, hang out with friends. I drank a lot, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I drank a lot. Well, we actually had a really cool, one of my favorite Christmas parties was our WhatsApp party just after, was it before or after Boxing Day?
It was, actually, I think it was. Wasn't it it was the night before, wasn't it? And we were I was on the Baileys. And I
was on the Champers, and then Amanda got all jelly and went to Tesco's and got some booze.
Oh my God, no, it was very funny. I'm hoping that nobody's kept those WhatsApp voice notes. You could use them to incriminate me for many things and blackmail me for things, because, that was so embarrassing. I just got more hammered, and I'm a proper lightweight when it comes to drink, honestly.
It was so brilliant, though. I have archived them just for future reference, just so you know.
I thought you loved me, Sophie.
I do. I would never do that to you, mate. Never do that to you. And then New Year's, my better half was completely out, you know, like a lot of people over the holidays, including our girls.
Yeah,
right?
eagerly listeners will have noticed that we're two ladies light tonight. Paul Seaver and Amanda are proper suffering with the lurgy, and they couldn't make it on the pod today. But we both hope they get better soon, don't we, Sophie?
Definitely, absolutely. I mean, it's not that kind of in between where they can sound radio sexy.
No,
they just sound
horrendous.
Yeah, they sound bad. Yeah.
But we're sending out virtual hugs to you girls. We miss you.
Very much, very much.
Right. Oh, God. So, on to the games. Oh, no. We played twice over the holiday period and started with Crystal Palace, a 3-2 win, which we dominated, but I think we looked unconvincing. What did you make of it?
It was one of those really weird games, wasn't it? That we as Arsenal fans kind of see the writing on the wall, in that we have total domination of possession, a lot of shots, even some on target in this particular match.
Which makes a change.
Definitely. And somehow, yet again, towards the end of the game, we lose our mental. Yeah. And I just don't understand that part. We've talked about it quite a bit over the last few weeks, haven't we, in terms of why do we capitulate at certain points in the game? And when you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
At the same time as well.
It's this kind of sign of madness, isn't it? I mean, and to me, it's a player issue, but I also think it's a coaching issue in mentally preparing players and working on, you know, when Jurgen Klopp, sometimes I don't like it when Jurgen Klopp comes out to players at the end of the game and he puts their arm over their shoulder and he's pointing things out to them on the pitch. You should have done that. You should have done this. You should have done that. And sometimes I feel like those things are best left for the dressing room. Yeah. But coaches like him and Pep and Conte, they take those mistakes and those are the first things that they work on in training.
They learn from them and they make sure that the players learn from them so they don't make the same mistakes over and over again, which is what we just keep doing. I mean, it was for Andros Townsend's equaliser. Let's go back to Mustafi's
You called
goal.
that. You called that on
I did,
WhatsApp.
didn't I?
Totally called that.
I could see it coming. I could absolutely see it coming. I mean, there were 4 players around him, and he still managed to get the shot off and score. How does that happen? How does that happen?
Poor. It was really poor.
Yeah.
It was poor defending, and also it was one of those players that you just have to keep your extra eye out.
Yeah.
You know, players that play for, you know, teams that used to be your rivals.
Yeah.
They've always got that extra edge, haven't they?
Yeah. And he always scores against us.
Yeah.
He's scored a few times, hasn't he?
Yeah, before the negative though, like the Mustafi goal, the way he took that was
beautiful.
Beautiful.
A striker would have been proud of it. Absolutely.
It was very proud.
Yeah, because he kept calm. He did, you know, normally defenders kind of lose their shit, shall I say, and just swing at it and it goes miles over, or, you know, they because they're not used to shooting, it gets to them. But it was the striker's goal. It was brilliant.
It really was. And the positives are that Mustafi goal was lovely to see a defender take it like that. But I always love us more with Mustafi in the team. I feel like we're much better organized. I feel like that we're less prone to mistakes. I feel like sometimes positionally he can be a little bit off, but I think he makes Koscielny look better.
Yeah, he does.
And these days it's a little hard to make Koscielny look better.
Yeah.
And for me, the Lacquer assist was a beauty, and to see him in that moment and have that moment, you know, those were the super positives for me, Sophia, in the game.
Agreed. And, you know, I don't know why Mustafi gets a lot of Gooners give him such a bad rep, but I actually think, like you say, we look better when he's in the team. But moving on from his goal, I mean, I know you're a massive Jack fan. You absolutely love him. Yeah. And for me, I mean, I still thought the jury was out, but I think that Palace game, I was starting to believe again, because that ball over the top for Alexis's second goal was sublime. Okay, Alexis still had a bit to do, and his first touch to bring it down and then finish was just beautiful. But that ball from Jack was inch perfect. It was amazing.
Yeah, and in a nutshell, for me, I feel like that's the kind of ball we've been expecting much, much more from Xhaka, right? And when Granit Xhaka first came to Arsenal, I raved about him, and I was saying, this guy, he's going to be our Alonso. He's got a sweeping left foot. He can pinpoint a pass.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be superb. I've seen him do it in Bundesliga, seen him do it for Switzerland, and it just hasn't really happened a lot for Xhaka. He's had good moments, but he's had far more bad moments than good moments. So when that ball came in from Jack, it was like, wow, it was almost like a comet. It happens every 69 years. And for Arsenal right now, unless Ozil's playing, we just don't see that kind of ball from other players in the team. So it was a joy, absolute joy.
It was beautiful. I mean, that's what I want to see from Jack. And, you know, I'm actually glad he's proving me wrong, because I've not been on the Jack bandwagon as everybody else has, but I think I might be jumping on it now. But speaking of Alexis's second goal, what did you make of all the Kos not celebrating with him, and Thierry Henry's comments saying that there's a division in the team and why are they not going to celebrate with him? What did you make of that?
I think that was blown out of proportion, because in terms of field, not every player goes to celebrate every goal. And that was the third goal, right? And I think if I remember correctly, the team celebrated as an entire team for his first goal.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes even if when we're winning, people try to find things about us to talk about. And in the instance of the person who actually really brought this comment to everybody's attention, you know, to hear Thierry say that, does he know something that we don't? There's always rumblings about this discourse in the dressing room that players are really upset with Sanchez. But I just thought that was a bit of an overreaction. We all know that there's something going on.
Yeah.
But to try and create a story out of nothing, or to get a soundbite or a little bit of clickbait there, for me personally, I just didn't think there was anything in it.
No,
I don't know.
I mean, okay, we know that Kos and Alexis don't get on, because that was where the bust up, you know, before the Liverpool game happened. But quite often defenders don't, because they're so far at the other end of the pitch. maybe he's, Cos has got a dodgy Achilles. Does he really want to be running all the way? Does he really want to be running all the way up the pitch to go and celebrate? I mean, we're 3-1 up. Game's probably done. Well, probably. Little did we know. But anyway. But you know what I mean? I love, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Thierry. I always will. But I do get the feeling that he, like you say, he makes certain comments just to, make himself relevant. Because I actually don't rate him as a pundit. That's just me. But I don't rate him as a pundit. And I do think he doesn't say it because I'm not even sure he actually believes it. Maybe
that's really interesting because, you bring up a really good point because for me, when Lee Dixon and Ian Wright say something, you really truly feel that it's coming from this pain in their heart for the love of the club.
Agreed.
When Thierry does it, it has a hint of bitter to it.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agrees. I don't know what Arsene's done to him, or maybe it was not making, maybe it was to do with the fact that, he was coaching there and then he wanted the job at Sky and he said to Arsene, can I do both? And Arsene said no. Maybe he's still feeling bitter about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a beef there. And I just think that, when people talk about ex-players saying things, and we've seen Mourinho have a right go at Scholesy.
Yeah.
Poor Scholesy.
Oh, and he deserves it. He doesn't deserve it at all.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Again, doing his job, talking about the game, talking about players. And, people lashing out. There's a really fine line, but in this instance, I think Thierry got it wrong. And, time, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, the defending for their second goal was just as bad as the defending for their first. From a corner, poor defending, yet again. We need to iron out these problems. It made it a nervy end to the game as well. So that wasn't great. Thankfully, we managed to hold on, but these problems need to be ironed out. I don't know who's going to iron them out because we've got Steve Bold on the bench and nothing seems to be getting any better, does it?
No, and I think that's always the big question is how hands-on can Boldy really be with this team and infuse his will when it comes to tactical defending and in training. And so I think his hands might be tied a little bit, but at the same time, players are accountable and responsible.
Yeah.
It's your job to defend a corner. This zonal marking thing sometimes I think also is a massive problem for us. Sometimes I wish that we'd go a little bit more man to man.
Yeah.
Because we're just not set up. Mertesacker, I feel, is much when we're zonal marking. I feel like Mertesacker's just got that German defender, sixth sense of where to be positionally on the pitch.
His positioning is because he doesn't have the pace, but he's a good defender because of his positioning. His positioning has always been good. I mean, I think now he's getting old, and it's probably and he's even less pace than ever, but. He never depended on his pace, and it's obviously been drilled into him, what to look out for, what the danger. But I don't know.
He's a better organizer. He's a better organizer than Koscielny.
Yeah,
he's much more vocal than Koscielny. Even Mustafi is a better organizer.
Well, I think the difference between Koscielny and Per is Koscielny is reactive, and Koscielny and Per is proactive. So Koscielny, quite often you see him running after players to correct a mistake he's made, while Per sees the problem before it's happened and he's already moving towards it to try, because he hasn't got the pace to be reactive, I guess. But what can we say?
He's Persadamus.
Oh my God! On that note, let's move on to the West Brom game. Before we discuss the penalty, let's talk about the game in general. We just do this one in
30 seconds. Blimey. Jeez, go on. Sorry, mate.
Oh, no. Oh, let's talk about the game in general. Mike Dean's decision to give a pen overshadowed the match. But I thought we were actually terrible. We hardly created anything in the game, did we?
It was probably one of the most rancid games of the Christmas period.
Yeah.
We had just come off that really great Crystal Palace Manchester City game, And, West Brom are always going to generally park the bus against, the top 5 or 6 teams. They haven't had a win since August. I mean, they are absolute shite.
Yeah.
We couldn't break them down because they just had 2 banks of 4 continue, for 92, 93 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was almost impossible for us to break them down. And one of the things you and I were talking about in WhatsApp with the girls was there was no Ozil to break it up, was there? There was no killer pass.
We missed his creativity. Like, I know people saying, oh, you only miss a player when they're not there kind of thing. But honestly, the difference, Ozil over the last month has been one of our best players. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was out in that West Brom game, they're saying it's an injury. I don't know. But it was, we put Iwobi in the same position and he wasn't the answer at all. He struggled. Did he even create anything in the Ozil role? I don't think he did. I mean, we had 14 shots with only 4 on target, and that's just poor.
It's poor. It's poor because, even when you have, look, Iwobi, I don't think he's ever going to be the answer for Ozil because Ozil's just one of those really special players that you just can't replace. And be careful what you wish for, some Arsenal fans who want to see the back of him, because you saw what the back of him would look like against West Brom. I said it on Twitter.
That was one of the things I tweeted.
And it's just, and then obviously we get the goal and it was lucky, right? But Sanchez did create the opportunity and he made it happen. And I thought that celebration, Sophia, was really interesting because when you saw Bellerin kind of yelling at everyone, we're together, together, I thought that was pretty telling. And you felt that was a little bit rehearsed, didn't you?
Whereas I did. It was organic. We were, we were definitely on either side of the fence on that one. I thought it was a little bit choreographed. I don't know. It's like, when you hear about 2 people who are in the same show together, and they're like, oh, they don't really like each other. And then you see them like hugging and stuff, and you think, it came so soon after all the shenanigans at Palace that I'm personally, I know I'd love to be wrong, but I'm not convinced. I think it was done. I think it was done specifically for the cameras. And, I mean, like I said, I could be wrong, but you think it was real. I don't, but
I did. Yeah, I did. I thought, sometimes as well, players are humans, right? And Bellerin knows that, he even tweeted the other day, it's been an up and down year for him. And he is actually playing really poorly right now.
For him?
A lot of people, for him, it's just really poor form, isn't it? And I hope that he'll find his form in the second half of the season. But generally, no player played well in that match, mate.
No.
Not one.
One of the things I noticed when I was watching the game was the booing of Kieran Gibbs, which I was really quite annoyed about from the Arsenal fans. I mean, Kieran Gibbs wasn't ever going to make it at Arsenal. We kept him on. The injuries didn't help. But when he left, he went quietly. He didn't, some of our ex-players that have gone have slagged us off and done all sorts. He just got on with it. I just didn't understand what he did to deserve that at all. Did you?
I agree with you on Gibbs. No, I thought that was really unfair. And I think that it was kind of like Philadelphia Eagles fans here are known for booing Santa Claus. It's kind of like, booing Gibbs. Poor Gibbs. I mean, what did Gibbo ever do to hurt anyone? He was always a really classy kid and a classy guy. I can understand people wanting to boo the Ox wholeheartedly. But Gibbs, I thought that was a stretch.
Well, I wouldn't even boo the Ox because I can understand why he went too. He's left and to me, he's already looks 10 times better than he ever was with us. But we'll get onto that discussion a little later.
All right.
Okay, so we couldn't talk about the West Brom game without discussing the elephant or the Mike Dean in the room and his decision to award a penalty for Callum Chambers' handball. But rather than just talk about it between the 2 of us, we decided to bring in an expert.
This is a public service announcement. Listenership is highly advised. In order to protect his identity and the potential abuse from the Gooner Nation and Premier League fans at large, we cannot reveal the referee's name, blood type, or general location. Public service announcement, end.
Right, then let's get stuck into it. Mike Dean gave West Brom a penalty for a Callum Chambers handball. Yet Manchester United were denied a very similar penalty, referee, against Southampton. In both cases, it seemed like ball to hand, especially at the distance. There's no way for a defender to get out of the way. So many blurred lines now. Do you think players are now going to think they can kick a ball at a player and get a penalty? Is this the new diving?
I think in a way it is, but I think to be honest with you, handball has always been the most contentious law of football. It's the one that when I referee, I get more grief about not giving handballs than anything else. So players will appeal. They don't fully understand the rule itself. There's a lot of guff talked about unnatural position and things like that. It just muddies it all. The simple facts are here. Player has to handle the ball deliberately. It has to be a deliberate intent to handle the ball. If you look at those two incidents, one of them was where a referee got it absolutely spot on in the case of Pawson in the Manchester United game, and then a referee who got it drastically wrong in the Arsenal game. Mike Dean is an experienced referee. As with anything with referees, you go off gut instinct. That's how you referee. You get one split second shot at it. But you're right. The ball was hit at him from a very, very short distance. It's not as if in the Manchester United case, for example, his arm was almost, he was adjusting his body and he was almost keeping himself stable with his arm, so his arm was up. He tried, in my opinion, he tries to pull his arm away from the ball. He realises the ball's going towards him and makes a movement to move his arm away. I think Paul Scholes was a pundit on BT was saying he was moving his arm towards the ball. I don't know what he was watching. To me, I don't want to join in the Paul Scholes bash. I don't want to side with Jose Mourinho anytime soon. But
none of us do.
He pulls his arm away from me, and he's tried to get away. It's never a handball. And then if you look at the Arsenal one, well, I mean, his arm's not up. His arm's out in front of him, almost as if he's trying to manoeuvre his arm across his body. He's not going towards the ball. It's hit at him from such a short distance. It can't be. If that's deliberate handball, they need to put him in nets. Because if he's deliberately gone and handled that and pushed it out for a corner, he's probably better than your current keeper. So it's not a handball. But as I said, it's the one rule in football when I referee at any level. It's the one rule that players give me the most grief over because they think that every time the ball hits the hand, it's handball, and it's just not. I mean, it's the one decision that referees, in my opinion, get wrong more than others. You can be fooled by diving. Players are clever. They want to go down and they're good at it. I can understand a referee getting caught out by diving. I don't understand. And it maybe points to a fact that these referees haven't played the game, a serious standard. I don't know. But instinct tells you whether it's deliberate handball. Instinct. And there's no, when I watched that game live, and I double took, I went, what? Given a penalty? What?
So even in real time, you didn't think it was a penalty?
I always go off real time. Even when I'm at a game, I go off my gut. I never think, I've seen it on the replay. It's a penalty. I go off. See, this is where I fall out with people about this. Because people say, well, I've seen it on the replay and I've seen it 5 times. And it's like, hold on. The referee gets one view.
Yeah.
So if you're
they
going
don't
to
have
judge
that luxury.
If you're going to judge a referee, judge him off your gut instinct. Because if your gut instinct says it's a penalty and he gives a penalty, it doesn't matter what the replay then shows. It can show that it's an incorrect decision. I go back to, I think, the last time when I was on the Burnley game. In real life, it looked a different view of that tackle than when shown on the replay. And it's like, cameras can be deceptive. Gut instinct. And my gut instinct at the time went, that's never a penalty. I was shocked when he gave it. So,
myself and Amanda, we defended the decision to appoint Mike Dean as the referee, saying it shouldn't matter who's officiating. Sadly, we were wrong. Do you think Dean was playing the occasion rather than the game, it being the last Premier League match of 2017?
I think he made a mistake.
Really? Do you not think referees play for the occasion and want to take the limelight sometimes? Because they have been accused of that a few times.
There are certain referees who historically over the piece have tended to put themselves in the middle of it a little bit more than others. Just trying to think off the top of my head, Mark Clattenburg was one.
Yeah.
You know, who seemed to enjoy the fame and the notoriety. I'm not saying that affected his decision making, but he certainly wanted. He liked being a part of it. Graham Poll was the same.
Yeah.
He liked that. You know, for me, the best referees are the ones you don't see. No, that's the best. The biggest compliment I get when I referee, if I get a compliment, is we didn't notice you.
Right.
Because that's when a referee has performed at his best. That said though, that if there's a contentious decision, referee's got to make a decision. So, and then if he gets that right or wrong, he could well be in the spotlight. I don't think Mike Dean was playing the occasion. I think he made a really bad error. And just going back to something I've seen about the appointment of Dean as a referee, I remember earlier on this season there was a game involving Liverpool and Manchester United where Anthony Taylor was given the game. And there was a big hoo-ha over it because Anthony Taylor's from Wythenshawe in Manchester.
Mm.
One of the best refereeing performances I've seen at Anfield in a long time. He was excellent, you know. I think there's a lot of talk of Mike Dean and Tottenham and Mike Dean and Arsenal.
And Amanda here would probably say, well, it always out. Look at the decisions that went our way in that Tottenham match.
Exactly.
You know, and the way.
Sorry, go on, Sophie.
No, mate. No. Sorry, I'm sorry, referee. Didn't mean. Am I going to get a yellow card? I didn't mean to call you mate. I meant to call you referee. I didn't touch you.
It's the first warning. You want the card coming out.
Well, listen, it's really interesting though because. I feel like referees should be banned the way players are. The girls didn't agree with me on this one. And one of the things is, and the reasons why is so many players have been retro-charged, with violent conduct. We saw Ashley Young, Carl Norton, to name a few. And it seems like refs are missing stuff in games and it's just too big, referee. It's just too big. The situations now in the Premier League, whether it's about Champions League places or relegation, they're missing too much. The De Bruyne tackle this weekend, to miss that and to potentially have a player out and that could have been his season over. When they're missing things now, do you feel like in certain instances there's a way that you can just immediately introduce VAR or like Champions League get that fourth official around the box like now?
Okay, there's a number of points there, as you know already, because I think we've discussed this. I don't like VAR.
Yeah.
Just purely because, in my opinion, football refereeing is a lot about opinion, because it is. That's the rules, the nature of the game. There's very few line calls, and you can have different opinions when you're watching something. That Manchester United one the other night, you had two panellists. One was saying penalty, one was saying no penalty. Another person can have an opinion, and then where are we? In terms
but you
of
can't miss a tackle like that on one of the best players in Europe right now who's going on to potentially have a Ballon d'Or type year. You can't miss those, can you?
No, I mean, and it doesn't matter who the player is, by the way. It doesn't matter whether it's Kevin De Bruyne or whoever. It shouldn't matter. It was a poor tackle. Strangely, Kevin De Bruyne plays tonight, but Punchin's out for the rest of the season. So,
serves him right for tackling him.
Yeah, that's what I said. Bit of karma. But going back to banning referees, here's the difference, and here's where I don't agree with you, and I don't disagree with taking sanction against a referee if a referee has performed poorly and performs poorly consistently. Referees are human beings; they can have a bad day, so that's fine. You're not banning players for having a bad day. What you're talking about is retrospective banning for a deliberate act. Referees don't deliberately get the decision wrong. Referees make mistakes. Every footballer in every game makes a mistake. It doesn't really matter, but when a referee makes a mistake, the consequences of that mistake means that they're right in the spotlight. Do I think a referee should be banned on the basis of one poor decision? No. But should referees be given more action when they're not performing well? Well, yeah, they are assessed. And I don't think they're assessed critically enough, if I'm honest. I think they can go. Mike Dean last season, funnily enough, was having a poor season. And I think it took probably until after February or March for them to step him down. the weird thing is they sometimes put them in the lower division. Why are you putting a referee who's performing poorly into a lower standard of football?
I know they don't. The lower divisions don't deserve to have them playing officiating polling down there. No, they should just be. But then, like Sophie says, maybe they should just be banned for a weekend, 2 weekends, just to make them, just to give them a break and help them, as well as the teams can get over it and gives them a chance to rejuvenate and come back and do a better job, because they're not learning from the mistakes. It just seems to be happening more and more and more and more. As Arsene Wenger said recently in his press conference, referees went professional in 2000 and he hasn't seen any improvement. From what I would like to ask is, with the game getting quicker, is it times that referees change their training regimes to try and keep up? Is it, if you don't like VAR, what about, their training? Because so many times you see them behind the play.
I think there's a real case for referees not being athletic enough.
Yeah.
If you're gonna employ someone full time in a position, they've got to be given the tools to do that job correctly. I watch a lot of football, as you well know, and I watch a lot of football live, and it amazes me how often the referees can be in poor positions.
Yeah.
The game is so quick, and players are so quick now. I mean, if you look, I don't know, just using Liverpool as an example, if you're trying to keep up with Mohamed Salah, well, you've got a bit of a problem there, because the defenders can't even do that. So the referee has to be positioned correctly and use the pitch correctly to give himself the best angles to make the decisions. But if you go back to just something that was really interesting in what Petr Cech said after the game, I don't know Petr Cech particularly. I can't remember how many times I've ever seen him interviewed, to be honest. But he seems like a placid guy. Mm-hmm. And obviously he was incensed after the game, and understandably so. But it wasn't all bile. It wasn't all usual rubbish you get. I think it was quite intelligent in what he was saying.
He's an intelligent bloke.
Yeah, he speaks 7 languages, this guy.
It was measured anger. And he said something really interesting when he said, referees came to the training ground and told us what we would expect from them this season. And he mentioned the distance between the ball and the hand and it affecting now that's right. So referees have been told to interpret that. So the ball's hit from a short distance, they've got it in their head. If the referee's doing his job correctly, that's what they've been instructed to do. The rules are manoeuvred around, they're pliable, they're changed. The law doesn't change, but the interpretation of the law changes. And they've been told, and they've told the players, that they will not just give a handball when the ball hits the hand and it's hit from a short distance. It's got to be deliberate intent. Well, then the referee didn't interpret that on the weekend or whenever the game was. So therefore, in my opinion, if I in my job, my day job, was performing poorly, what would happen is my manager would sit with me and they would try to make me perform better. And then if I didn't perform better, then it would be disciplinary. Well, there's no difference for that for me. And referees, the same as footballers get dropped if they're not playing well, if they're not performing, they won't be playing 2 weeks later. I don't think that's about one bad decision, by the way. I think that's about, and actually, I don't think it's necessarily about the one big decision. The Dean one's slightly different, but people can make mistakes. It's not one decision. If he has a great game for 89 minutes and makes one error, then you've got to look at that and go, okay, well, he's performing well generally. He's made that mistake. Why has he made that mistake? What can we do to make him not make that mistake? And they've got to be worked with. And I don't think referees are helped. I think the way that the referee association manage them, I don't think is great. I don't think it's open enough. You know, it was great when we had that Carragher Neville program where they showed you the referees. I thought it was really insightful. If we knew more of how referees are actually managed and assessed, I think your normal intelligent football fan might have a little bit more sympathy. But at the moment, you're right in terms of actually the referees being hung out to dry.
You know, we'll get you out on this one, Ref, but also that 1 minute could cost the team relegation or promotion, and that's the thing about it. Real quick before we get you out, do you feel like Mourinho's belly aching on that handball the day prior put pressure on Dean? Is it true that things like that put pressure on referees to make those decisions that ordinarily potentially, would come easier, but in a panic in a moment, they're giving it because there's been all this rhetoric the day before?
Yeah, they're human beings. So if a human being sees a high-profile manager speaking in the way he did I thought Mourinho was a disgrace, actually, after that game. The way he does it as well, because he doesn't do it in an angry way, does he? He does it in a very clever, subtle way. When he said it's frustrating, but then the referee's one of the best young referees in Europe, he should be frustrated at his performance. It's like, Jose, listen, you're not helping anyone here. You're not helping the referees. You're not helping your own team. You're not helping anyone, because referees are humans. They'll read stuff. They'll see stuff. Was it at the back of Mike Dean's mind when he gave that penalty? Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me. Would it you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
You've got one of the most highest profile managers in Europe, one of the most successful managers in Europe, doesn't get more high profile than Jose Mourinho, saying very snide, very underhand comments about referees. And if you want referees to perform, what I suggest that managers like Jose Mourinho do is actually just shut up. I get the anger.
That's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest.
Let's see what happened then, because Arsene Wenger confronted the officials on the pitch after the game against West Brom, and he's been charged with the FA. Okay, we don't know what was said, assuming that he's used abusive language towards the referee. Okay, then you're going to get. Well, fair enough. There is another question about should managers be allowed to approach a referee straight after a game, because it's a passionate sport.
Yeah.
His team has just been lost. As you just said,
it felt like a loss. Yeah.
Sorry, they drew it. Yeah. Apologies.
But it felt like a loss, but I know what you mean.
Those 2 points could be the difference in Arsenal getting in the Champions League and not.
Which is what we've been saying. Exactly that.
So don't allow, what's the fourth official doing? Don't allow a manager to confront a referee, because it's unfair on Arsene Wenger. He's passionate, he's angry, he's upset. Don't let him approach the referee. It's the wrong time to do it. If he wants to speak to the referee, do it half an hour later. When you've calmed down. Maybe they should have a meeting. Maybe they should always have a debrief.
Yeah.
Where they can say the piece, they have an official there from the FA, a referee's assessment, one of the referee manager's people, sits there, talk calmly. I thought you got that wrong. Here's why I thought I didn't get it wrong. Fine. And then if he wants, then maybe the manager should be allowed to put a complaint in. I don't know, but there's got to be a cleverer way. We're still stuck in the 1970s. People stomping on the pitch to have a go at nothing. It's like, no,
I love the 70s.
Me too.
Well, sorry, we won everything, but anyway.
On that note, because we want to keep your identity secret still there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and your insight into this week's incidents. And Happy New Year, and hopefully you'll come on again.
Absolutely. Take care, ladies.
You too. Bye-bye.
The referee has left the building. Public service announcement end.
So the ref was insightful and brilliant, but now we're going to move on to the transfer window, which is now open. There's been a lot of speculation all season regarding the futures of Sanchez and Ozil. Alexis to Manchester City shows no sign of slowing down. How do you think that's going to go, Soph?
I think that there was this fear as soon as Gabriel Jesus and De Bruyne were injured that, Arsenal were going to kind of, look at the Sanchez situation, and instead of getting 25 million for him in January, they could now ask for 45, 50 if these players were going to be out for 2 to 3 months. And like you said, it looks like De Bruyne, might not be out as long. I think that, let me ask you this. If there was a pair of Jimmy Choos or Pradas, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were
Louboutins, there you go. Yeah. And they're £500. But in 3 months, you're absolutely guaranteed to get those same shoes for free. What are you going to do?
Obviously, I'm going to go for the Louboutins in 3 months. But Alexis isn't shoes. It's a different thing. I know you're trying to make it difficult for me to say.
No, but it's money. It's money. It's money, right? Why would they spend the money?
The difference is, for City, money is no object. For me, money isn't no object. You know what I mean? That is the difference. The 60 million to them is a drop in the ocean. Whether they're going to pay, if they want him, they want him. And they won't.
But they don't need him right now. They don't need him right now. Even with Gabriel Jesus' injury, they don't quite need him right now. Now, that might change as the season goes. But,
which is why I think they're going to get him. And I don't think they need him right now for the league, but for the Champions League, I think they do. Oh, but then he can play for them, right?
Well, I don't know if Europa League cup ties
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. If he's not cup tied, then even more so. You think they've lost Silva? We don't know why. You know, we've heard the rumours as to what they think's wrong with Silva, but imagine.
But they're different positions. Like, you know, you can't substitute. You can strengthen Sanchez and you can have him play, you know, in that number 10 role for sure. But I feel like, even if you're Manchester City, same with Ozil and Manchester United, I don't think Ozil's going anywhere. Personally, I feel like
neither do I. I think he's going to stay.
Give him the money, and I would actually make Ozil captain for next season
and build a team around him. I've said 100%. It for ages, and I don't think we've not. I think because Alexis was in the mix, I think Arsene was scared to build a team around Ozil. But I really think we should have done it ages ago. What is the point of having a World Cup winner, world-class player, and not build a team around him?
Imagine this, Fire. He could actually, by the end of the summer, be a 2-time World Cup winner.
Exactly.
And he could go for free.
Oh,
you're talking about a player that potentially at that point we could ask for 80 million.
Don't even.
You know,
I can't deal.
And he would go for free. But he's going to the World Cup. But how about, you know what? Come on.
that El Neni tweet about Alexis. It was fantastic. I mean, which is why, I mean, to tweet, I'm going to the World Cup and who isn't, and then had a smiley face. It was hilarious. But to me, does that not show how much there is a divide? And because one of the other girls said they thought that it was Seema thought it was mean, but I thought it was really funny. And I think would he have tweeted that if Alexis was staying? I don't think so.
There was a dig. I mean, look, how many players? Bellerin isn't guaranteed to go to the World Cup.
No, he's not.
Right? Jack Wilshere isn't guaranteed to go to the World Cup. It was a specific, I'm not sure it was the best thing to do. I think it was a little bit, it bordered on being a little bit mean because he knows damn well how much Alexis loves being the main man and on the world stage. And he's won 2 Copa Americas in the last 4 years with Chile. And it's heartbreaking for Chile not to go to the World Cup. And as funny as it was, I also felt like it was a little bit cruel.
It was
tiny bit cruel.
It was a bit cruel, but it was hilarious. I must admit, because I've completely fallen out of love with Alexis, so it made me laugh even more. But anyway,
for me, I feel like I'd pay Ozil, and the one question mark is, do you pay Jack and lower his wages, or do you just take Theo's wages and give them to Jack?
Did you really need to ask? Come on, that's not even a question. Get rid of Theo and give Jack his money, because I'm telling you.
How much is Theo on?
Theo is on 120 grand a week. 120 grand a week to sit on the bench and then come on and do nout. I mean, come on. Apparently his contract's up as well this season. Apparently Southampton is interested. Mm-hmm. I would pay them to take him. That is how much I want him gone.
It is sad because, listen, we all love Theo the man. He's a phenomenal
human bloke.
He's a good guy.
He's a lovely bloke.
He's a great, great person. And, you know, to see him come out the same class as Gareth Bale and to see how the trajectory of Gareth Bale's career has gone compared to Theo's, even though Gareth has more God-given talent than Theo for sure, it's really sad. He hasn't evolved as a player.
But how many players haven't evolved under Arsene? I mean, we can list them.
I was talking to the Gooner dudes in the USA yesterday, and I was thinking the last young player that really flourished under Wenger, would you say was Cesc?
Yeah, that's who I was just going to say. I was going to say Cesc Fabregas. I can't remember anyone since him that has become world class and could get into most teams in Europe. It's Cesc.
And you have to have respect for Jack Wilshere and the way he's gone about coming back into the team.
Oh, it's brilliant. Well, his tweet about, how much he loves the club and that he wants to stay. If only, he wants to improve as well. Jack, the fact that he said never give up. He wants to stay. He wants to improve. He wants to do something. I just don't get that feeling from Theo. Theo is quite happy never to play again as long as he's pocketing his weekly paycheck. And it annoys me.
So do you think the Ox left purely, and I guess the truth is in print and it's in black and white. He was offered more money by Arsenal but took less with Liverpool.
He was offered more money by Chelsea as well, and he turned Chelsea down because Chelsea were going to play him at left wing back like we were doing, and he didn't want to play there. He wanted to play on left wing or in the middle, and Liverpool said, we will play you on it where you want to play. So he took a pay cut and he went, which is why I cannot boo him. I cannot boo the man because he wants to improve. He wants to impress. He's already looking better under Klopp in a month, 2 months than he has done for how many seasons with us.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a stretch the way everyone's kind of saying, oh, he's already looking like a much better player. And he just looks more like a confident player. I don't know if he plays better. Even in the game that he scored his first goal at Anfield, he didn't have a great game, but he ended up scoring. So it masked his true performance. But I'm worried about someone like Callum Chambers. Honestly, I couldn't care less about, because to me, he's not an Arsenal player. But someone like Rob Holding, I'm worried about Rob Holding.
Yeah.
He's shown glimpses of real good play. He's also had really difficult games. To see him stand side by side with Per in the FA Cup final and to have that kind of game that he did was amazing. Iwobi is another one that is struggling. Yeah. And I fear that we're seeing, regression.
But we've been seeing it for years.
So when Holding played alongside Per Mertesacker in the FA Cup final, it was just beautiful to see kind of like the old guard and the way Per was helping Holding throughout that match. I mean, there's nothing better than playing in a game like that to become a better player. But, with that said, why isn't he playing as much this season? We've been really crap in defence. Why hasn't he been given a shot? Why is Callum Chambers getting a shot? Who I really, really I think he's such an average player, and maybe I'm being hard on him, Sophia.
Well, the thing is, Soph, didn't Arsene nearly sold him in the summer? So
yes.
he's switched. It's like he's going back and forth. It's like he doesn't know how to spot talent anymore, because he was willing to let him go, and then suddenly when other teams started going, oh, we want him, he suddenly went, oh no, I don't want to sell him anymore. And it's kind of like he just doesn't. He cannot spot talent. I don't know what's going on, but I don't understand why Holding's not playing and why Callum Chambers is being picked over him. It's bizarre. Do
you know what the argument I always get from fellow Gooners is like, well, he turned Thierry Henry from flank play to. Yeah, but also Thierry Henry is one of the greatest players we've seen in our time.
Yeah.
Like, people forget that the dude's won everything, and he is just one of the most sublime players that we've seen in Europe in the last 20 years. There's a big difference. And, when you see Pep making Fabian Delph look like, the best left back in Europe.
Like Dani Alves.
Yeah, it really annoys me how, and you saw how, what Pep did with the Alveses of the world in Barcelona and with some of those other players that, came through the ranks, and how he just evolves even world-class players and makes them even better. So for me, that's the biggest frustration right now. January transfer window, as you and Amanda say, until I see them holding the shirt, right?
That's what I say.
Yep, that's that. I don't buy any of it. I don't know if we're going to buy anyone. And I certainly don't feel like we're the type of squad right now who could sell anyone.
If you were going to get anybody in, who would you get in? Like, give me 2 players.
Oh, crikey. I'd like a goalkeeper.
Really? That's interesting. That's it, because I think
I
must
love
admit,
it.
I love Czech, but
Pains me.
It's still
how is it he's not saved the penalty?
Oh.
How is that possible? Ederson had that similar penalty against Palace. It went right down the middle. He stretched his legs out. He was able to get
legs. Yeah, saved it. Yeah.
And check is how tall, and he still missed it. It was right down the middle.
I love Czech, but I'm gutted we never went for Pickford. I'm gutted we never went for Butland, because you look at them now, and both will probably be going to the World Cup with England. And to me, they're better than Czech is now, and they've got years on them. It's depressing.
Well, when we're attached to players like, Johnny Evans, that's our will.
Oh God, don't say
that's who
that.
we're attached to.
Although, to be fair, I wouldn't actually mind getting Decore in from Watford. The defensive midfielder. I thought he was good against us in October, and I've been screaming for a defensive midfielder for about 10 years. And I think he'd be a good fit for us. He's played in the Prem, he's doing well, and, I think he'd do well for us. I really do. Yeah. It's something that just, I don't understand how we haven't got a proper defensive midfielder. It's been bloody ages.
That is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And the players on my shopping list, we would never ever buy them. The Draxlers of the world and the Tony Cruises of the world. And, and I
did say to you have to be realistic, son.
I know. So, I guess Johnny Evans will do. Huh?
No, what about Harry Maguire?
Well, okay. I'll take Harry Maguire.
He's realistic. Is Leicester okay? They won the title more recently than we did, but I'd still say we're a step up from them, right?
That is a shocking statement. Every time I hear that, Leicester won the title more recently than we did. I think we should just move on from that. Crikey, that's painful hearing that, isn't it? Jeez,
it really is.
Oh, I don't know. The January transfer window is a real prickly one. It's a little bit off. I actually don't think it should be allowed. I think there should just be the summer transfer window. And if not, just keep it open throughout the season, because everyone's getting, a phone call here and there. Everyone's kind of, always got one eye open, especially if their season isn't going well. I just think there's too much unrest. It does give people and teams the ability to strengthen their squads, but a lot of the times the top players are cup tied, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. I want it abolished.
It won't though. It just hikes up all the tension of the year, isn't it? They love the skies of this world. Absolutely love it. It gives them something to do and report on. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, moving on swiftly.
And we're back. So it's time to let you know who won the Lee Dixon exclusively signed 89 mugs. We asked you on the last podcast who were the other three members of the famous back four who won the title at Anfield in 1989. The answer, which was a piece of piss, if you don't know, I will be not impressed, but it was Steve Bolt, Tony Adams and Nigel Winterburn. And the two lucky winners picked out of the Facebook hat were Karen Pond and Richard Hayden. Well done, you two. I'll be in touch to get your details, and they'll be ringing the mugs will be ringing their way over to you as soon as possible. Enjoy.
Very well done. Well done, kids. Well done, kids. Amanda didn't steal it in the end, so you are getting your mug.
And so we come on to one of our favourite segments on the pod, and that is Snog, Marry, Avoid. And this week, I know, it's the one. This week we're going for a transfer window special with three players who could be leaving us in January. So Sophie, Snog, Marry, Avoid, Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, and Theo Walcott. Go.
Right then, fine. I will play Snog, Marry, Avoid.
You don't have a choice. I'm making you. Come on.
Okay, I think I'm going to marry Mesut Ozil because I just think that's a life of happiness. He seems real chill.
Yeah.
He feels like, you know, he'd be a really good hubby, a good partner in crime, be in the trenches with a man every day. I'm going to snog Theo Walcott because he is just delish. He's a delish dish. And I think he's good for a snog, but I'm not sure if I'd want to be with all those tats for the rest of my life. It's a bit too much tat for me.
Oh, I loved a bit of tat action.
Yeah, all right. Well, you can have him then. And I'm going to avoid Alexis Sanchez, and it's got nothing to do with what's going on at the club at all, because you know how a huge a fan I am of Alexis, and I've defended him to the core.
You do.
But he lives in a Mills and Boone novel for me. Do you remember those old love stories that start with once upon a time and end in happily ever after? And his Instagram posts are like something out of a Disney film.
And he's got that worst taste in music. I mean,
I can't listen to Celine Dion every single day.
It's terrible. I agree.
So I have to say I'm going to avoid Alexis. As sweet as I love his dogs, right? I'm out. I'm out with Alexis.
Okay.
Who are you about?
Okay, so I'm going to snog Mesut Ozil. He's not the best looking bloke in the world, but they do say the ugly ones work harder. So I'd like to see if his kissing technique is as good as his technique with the ball. I know, I'm so bad. I'm going to marry Theo. Even though he's annoying on the pitch, everyone I know says he's a lovely bloke off it, and I've met him and he is. So I think he'd be quite a good husband as well. He'd be quite sweet. I think he'd be caring. He'd be listening, and you know, he'll be thoughtful. And you know, I could deal with that. And like I said, I do love a bit of tat action, as I have some myself. And I'm going to avoid Alexis. And even though he is an amazing body, his body is amazing. I don't think
it's better than Theo's.
Oh my God, Alexis' body is. Oh, I can't even go there. It's just buff. I can't.
Well, it's beautiful. It's definitely beautiful.
Oh, it's just no. And he's got more muscle. Like Theo's a bit thin for me, anyway. I'm a big girl. I need something. but I don't think the main reason I would avoid him is I don't think I could compete with his love of his dogs. I mean, they seem to take up everything. He's like you say, his Instagram videos all seem to be dedicated to his dogs, and I can't compete with that. I've got to be number one in that relationship. Thank you very much.
That's hilarious.
That's funny.
His dogs are adorable, though, aren't they? They're really.
Well, you know, I'm not a dog person.
I know. We won't talk about that, though.
So we're going to talk about our best and worst Arsenal and non-Arsenal things of the year. So Sophie, give me your three best.
Right. In a nutshell, the best moment has to be the FA Cup final. No, It's just what a day. No one gave us a shot.
No, absolutely. I didn't think we were going to win either. I was convinced we were going to. It was a matter of how many we're going to concede and not, you know, and if we were even going to score one. So. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you, right with you there on that. But even better for me, it wasn't even just winning the FA Cup final. The thing that I absolutely love about it was the fact that we gave them hope for 3 minutes. Like, you know, when they equalised. And then they only had 3 minutes, like, the Chelsea fans all thought, we're going to go and win it. And then 3 minutes later, Ramsey just, like, ruined their day.
Rambo loves a goal at Wembley, doesn't he? Man, that was just joyous stuff. And I'll tell you something, my second favourite is close to the first, because beating Manchester City to get to the final, again, no one gave us a chance.
I didn't give us a chance either. You know, I'm a negative Nelly, so I didn't.
Yeah, I know. And so, you know, I feel like that was two of the most complete games we've played in a really long time. The Chelsea game in particular was almost tactics to perfection. It was wonderful. And then, you know, my other third favourite Arsenal moment is the return of Jack Wilshere right now. I love it. I love this story. I love where it could go. I've given him a hard time in the past, but I really wish him the best, and I hope he can stay injury-free, because it feels like we've signed someone mid-season and got ourselves a quality player. So those are my 3 best Arsenal moments.
Well, my other 2 was beating Spurs 2-0 in the North London derby. It was honestly, it was being there was one of the best things in years. And what made me laugh was the fact that it wasn't a foul on Sanchez, so we should have got a free kick that will enter and then Mustafi's header was offside. So that was brilliant. And my third best Arsenal thing was getting introduced to 2 lovely ladies by Amanda, which led us to start this podcast.
You getting all mushy,
It's
making me look bad.
It's been a lot of work, but I've just loved it. It's just been brilliant, and I just, I've got such high hopes for 2018 with you girls. You're amazing, and I'm so happy. And that goes to you too that aren't on at the moment as well, Amanda
we
and
missed
Seema.
them today. It's like there's like a big spot in the room, and it's just missing 2 people. Big hole.
So what about your 3 worst? Let's go there.
Right. Number 1 has to be those bloody planes flying over the stadiums at West Brom. God. And that was this year, right? The West Brom flying over the plane.
It seems so long ago.
It does seem so long ago. But that had to be a really low point as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
The other worst moment, I think, that led to a lot of this discourse was benching Sanchez at Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Or Lacazette, at Liverpool.
Yeah.
I feel like that led to a lot of problems, and I feel for Lacazette, I feel like that killed his confidence, and he's still trying to fight back from that.
Definitely.
And I would love to see him really hit the ground running.
I really like him.
He's a good guy.
I don't understand why he's being treated this way, but who knows what goes on in Arsene's mind.
The last one might surprise you, but I felt like it was a season or a calendar year, where we lost to a lot of teams that we've been spanking for so many years. And to lose to Palace after 20 years, 3-0 at Selhurst Park, that was rotten. That was a real low point for me. I thought that's where I hit rock bottom.
Yeah. I feel like I've been hitting rock bottom constantly over the last year, but anyway. And the first rock bottom, which is one of my worst, was the 2-legged defeat to Bayern. The first leg 5-1, and then the second, we couldn't even come back and hold our heads up high. We lost again 5-1. I mean, the 10-2 was just embarrassing. I mean, you'd think we'd be used to losing to Bayern, but it was painful. It was so painful.
And apparently the moment where Sanchez changed his mind about staying.
Exactly. And a lot, that, I don't know. We just don't seem to learn, as we've been saying all season. But anyway, and also losing to Man U in December. We'd been unbeaten at home all season. We'd been, okay, some of the games we hadn't played well, but we still had an unbeaten record. And to be fair, we went into that game thinking we'd win. I thought we'd win. I never think we'd win. And I predicted this. And then to lose, I was just like, right, I've learnt my lesson, never again. And finally, I know this may be controversial, but I think Arsene Wenger signing a new contract. That's one of my lows. I think it saddens me that it's come to this, but I really think it would have been better off if he'd have won the FA Cup and gone out on a high. I think we're in for at least another year of him being as manager, and I don't think it's for the best. I think it's going to be not great. I really, really do. And it saddens me that I'm saying that, because I adore the man. I always will, for all he did for us. But he's, we've been saying it for how long? It's time for him to go. And the fact that it's one of my worst things of the year is really quite depressing.
Yeah. If someone would have said that to you, that you would have thought that 20 years ago.
No way. I would have thought
years ago.
I would have said you're mad. Absolutely mad. Absolutely mad. But anyway, let's go from this depressing subjects and move on to our predictions. So
all right.
We've got Chelsea at home, and we've got Forest away in the cup. So what you going for?
Forest are having a really tough time, and
they just lost their manager as well.
Yeah, and if there's a new manager or caretaker manager bounce, why did you just say that out loud? Why?
Well, I thought I'd better let you know.
Oh my God, Sostradamus's crystal football is blurred. It's so blurred. I kind of see.
Oh Lord.
Right then, I was going to go for like a 4-1 in that game.
Oh my God, so was I.
Oh, see, hey, oh my gosh,
that is weird.
My superpowers are reeling you in. It's the Justice League.
We're synchronizing.
Yeah. No, I think 4-1. Yeah, and Chelsea. Let's see, Chelsea. Oh boy, Chelsea have found some form. They're looking good. They seem to have overcome some of the niggly issues that they've been facing, especially defensively. I fancy us though. We play well against him, and there's something about Conte as a mental block playing Arsene Wenger. And I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, actually. I'd love to say we're going to win, but I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw.
I also think we're going to draw, but I'm going to go for 1-1. I do think Conte does have a mental block against Arsene, but we're not in great shakes at the moment, and I think the confidence has been kind of knocked out of us. I'm hoping that that they'll feel the injustice of what happened against West Brom will kick them up the arse, and they'll come back trying to prove a point. But we've seen it so many times where we think an injustice or a loss will make a difference, and it doesn't. So I'm going 1-1. I think Hazard might give us hell if he plays, but there you go. That is it for this week. I'm really sorry we didn't get round to your Twitter questions. I promise we will answer them. We will get round to it when the other girls are on as well, and we can all answer what you've got to say to us. But do remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Highbury Heels, on Instagram at Highbury and Heels, and on Facebook at Highbury and Heels. If you already haven't done so, please give us a rating on iTunes, YouTube and SoundCloud, but only if it's good ovs. Stick with us as we've got some great guests and pods planned for 2018. And just in case you didn't know, we're the pitches who know football, but what else are we, Sophie?
Always Arsenal.